Founded in 2005, Y Combinator is one of the earliest and most famous startup accelerators for helping startups like Airbnb and Dropbox. Today we're talking to some of the partners and founders that have been through the program about what makes them so great.
We got started with Y Combinator back in early 2005. Paul and I noticed that there were a lot of changes going on in the startup world. It was becoming a lot cheaper to start a startup, and we thought, gosh, if we could just somehow make it easier for people to start a startup, more people would do it.
Y Combinator was launched as a program for first-time entrepreneurs to receive the business help they needed to get their startups off the ground. It began with just 8 companies, but has grown substantially since then.
I was in the first Y Combinator batch back in the summer of 2005. I think it was called the Summer Founders Program then. There were 8 startups, and we were one of them. I knew how to write code. I really didn't know anything at all about business or how to start a startup or raise money or anything like that. And it was this incredible program for someone like me at the time. I could tell, like, this is not just sort of your average investment firm. Something really cool is happening, and it's become sort of like this central hub of the startup world.
Anyone can apply for the program, and YC prides itself on helping a wide range of startups. Even though they may not look alike, these companies face many of the same problems as they seek to build product and find their first customers.
The program hasn't evolved too dramatically. We've always stuck to doing what we originally planned on doing, which is make it easier for people to start startups. Anyone can apply.
We decided to apply for YC kind of on a whim in the fall of 2010. We were a hardware company, and up until that point, I think YC had accepted maybe 2 or 3 hardware companies, but I was an avid Hacker News reader. I couldn't, barely stop reading it. We applied, we got in.
I remember the first day thinking, I thought YC was a tech startup incubator, and most of these companies are not what I would classify as technology companies. There's food delivery, there's cosmetics, there are toy designers. No matter how different the companies were, how similar our challenges were.
The program and the structure of the program, I think, is very focused, and that's really important, especially when you're in those early stages of doing the right things in the beginning, right? Focusing on talking to your customers, getting out there, and then building the product that makes them happy.
The 12-week program is designed around helping founders to tackle the problems that matter to them most. But it also provides an outlet for them to meet up and help one another through a series of weekly dinners and other events.
So we figure out where you are, and we help you figure out what is the biggest problem that you're dealing with right now, and we try to help you solve that.
The startups don't work here. They have to have their own space. It's important that startups develop their own culture and identity and sort of their own feeling of specialness. But the startups do come here together once a week on Tuesdays, and all Tuesday afternoon and evening the startups are here.
Everyone comes in, there's a lot of talking to other startups, talking to partners, kind of showing what you've done.
We also offer them our weekly guest speakers. We have people like Mark Zuckerberg come in and share his story about how he got started, what he did wrong, lessons that he learned along the way. People can expect help on anything going wrong with their startup. What should they worry about? What should they not worry about?
And at the end of the, I think 10 to 12 weeks, we have a demo day where we gather some of the best investors in Silicon Valley, and everyone gets to kind of show what they've done.
Applicants who are lucky enough to get an in-person interview have just 10 minutes to impress the partners. After those interviews, however, the partners are generally able to make a quick decision about who to include.
Our application process starts with an online application, probably 12 or 15 questions, plus a 1-minute video introducing the startup.
We're looking for founders who came together and with sort of an organic relationship. Maybe they were coworkers, maybe they went to school together. We're looking for people with deep domain expertise in the problem they're trying to solve.
Where we're looking at thousands of applications, the ones that stick out are people who can concisely and explain their oftentimes conceptually hard, difficult ideas.
As our model goes, we're looking for these things that can be these exceptional outlier gigantic companies. And so, if we think a company, however crazy it sounds, can be like that, we invite them to interview. We only interview them for 10 minutes, but it turns out you can tell a lot, way more than you would think in a 10-minute meeting.
A lot of times they'll come to us with sort of a smaller idea. And during the course of our 10-minute interview, we think, wow, that idea could expand into this.
One of the biggest advantages of Y Combinator is the accelerator's network of partners and alumni. In addition to being mentors, YC alums also serve as the first customers to a number of companies that go through the program.
Throughout YC, I'd say the most helpful and most surprisingly helpful things were just the network of partners and the fact that you could come in virtually any time and talk to one of the partners who had a specialty or an expertise in a certain area.
There's just so many problems and so many little and big things that you'll run into doing a startup, whether you're a hardware startup or you're a software enterprise, whatever. Knowing that these founders were going through the same problems just was immensely helpful.
We have an extensive network of relationships with investors and with companies. We have an alumni network of like 1,500 people now who are all very willing to help one another.
New startups, when they're in the YC batch, can ask alumni, will you use our product? Will you try this? Will you be a customer? Will you give us feedback? Will you help us with investment advice or introductions? And they will. And the deal is that, a year from now when they're alumni, they help the next startups.
In truth, the 3 months of YC went by incredibly fast and it was incredibly useful, but the real value is that network of people who are tackling the same problem. Even today, 3 years later, a lot of the people that I talk to, a lot of my sort of support group, founder support group, are those people that I went through YC with.
I think YC is best for companies that want to scale very quickly. That's really the fundamental reason why you would want to join YC, is because we can help you do that.
If you are passionate about the idea, then do it. People that have an idea that they really love, that keeps them up at night and don't start a startup, nearly universally regret not taking the plunge.
You find out a lot of interesting things about your users and your product by launching things and by working on them. So that's my best advice. Apply to YC, but simultaneously move forward anyway without us.
Y Combinator's large alumni network and ability to help startups find product market fit make it one of the most coveted startup accelerators to apply to.